Mayday, mayday, mayday. The captain's voice cracked through the cabin speakers. Then nothing. Complete silence. Flight 847 was flying at 35,000 feet with 186 passengers on board. Nobody knew that in the next few minutes, their lives would depend on a small girl sitting quietly in seat 12A. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. It was a sunny Tuesday morning. The Boeing 737 flew smoothly through clear blue skies. Flight 847 was traveling from Chicago to Miami. Inside the airplane, everything seemed normal and peaceful. Businessmen typed on their laptops. Families talked quietly. A baby slept in her mother's arms. Flight attendants walked down the aisles with their drink carts. Everyone was comfortable and relaxed. In seat 12A, near the window, sat 11-year-old Emma Rodriguez. She had long dark hair tied in a ponytail. She wore a blue jacket and jeans. On her lap was a tablet computer. To anyone watching, Emma looked like any other child traveling alone. The flight attendants had checked on her twice. She was polite and quiet. She said, "Thank you," when they brought her orange juice. She seemed like a normal, well-behaved kid. But Emma was not a normal kid. The man sitting next to her in 12B had smiled at her when he sat down. "Flying alone?" he asked kindly. "Yes, sir," Emma replied. "I'm visiting my aunt in Miami." "That's nice. Are you nervous about flying?" Emma shook her head. "No, sir. I actually love airplanes." The man smiled and went back to his newspaper. He had no idea what those words really meant. What nobody on that plane knew was that Emma had been studying airplanes since she was 6 years old. What they didn't know was that her father had been teaching her to fly before he died 2 years ago. Emma's father, Captain Miguel Rodriguez, had been a commercial airline pilot for 18 years. He loved flying more than anything except his daughter. When Emma was very young, maybe 4 or 5, she would ask her father about his work. "What do you do in the airplane, Daddy?" she would ask. Most fathers would give a simple answer. "I fly the plane, sweetie." But Captain Rodriguez was different. He would sit Emma on his lap and explain everything. He told her about the engines. He explained how wings create lift. He showed her pictures of cockpit instruments. He taught her the names of every button and switch. "Why do you tell me all this, Daddy?" Emma asked one day. Her father smiled. "Because knowledge is never wasted, my little pilot. Someday, maybe you'll be a pilot too. Or maybe you'll just understand how amazing flying really is. Either way, you'll know something beautiful." When Emma turned 6, her father did something unusual. He built a flight simulator in their garage. It wasn't a real airplane, of course. But it looked very real. Captain Rodriguez had collected old airplane parts from junkyards. He had bought computer screens and controls from online stores. He had spent months building it carefully. The simulator had a pilot seat, a co-pilot seat, and all the instruments that a real cockpit has. It had throttle levers to control speed. It had a yoke to control direction. It had hundreds of buttons and switches, just like a real Boeing 737. Every Saturday morning, Emma and her father would sit in that simulator. He would teach her step by step. "First, we check all the instruments," he would say. "See this screen? It shows our altitude. This one shows our speed. This one shows the engine temperature." Emma would watch carefully and remember everything. "Now, when we take off, we need to reach a certain speed. We push the throttle forward like this. Feel how the airplane wants to go faster." Emma's small hands would grip the controls. She would feel the simulator shake and move. On the screens, she would see the runway rushing past. Then the nose would lift, and they would be flying. "Good, Emma. Very good. Now, gently pull back on the yoke. Not too much. Just a little. We want to climb smoothly. They practiced for hours every Saturday. Then every Saturday and Sunday. Then sometimes after school. Captain Rodriguez taught Emma everything. How to read instruments. How to communicate with air traffic controllers. How to handle emergencies. What if one engine stops working, he would ask. Then we use the other engine and land at the nearest airport, Emma would answer. What if we lose cabin pressure? Put on oxygen masks first. Then descend to 10,000 feet where we can breathe. What if both pilots get sick? Emma paused at that question. Can that really happen? It's very, very rare, her father said. But it can happen. That's why we have procedures for everything. The most important thing is to stay calm and remember your training. Emma practiced emergency landings dozens of times. She practiced flying with one engine. She practiced flying in bad weather. She practiced everything her father could teach her. You're doing great, my little pilot, he would say, hugging her after each session. You're better than some student pilots I've trained. Emma would beam with pride. Those Saturday mornings with her father were the best times of her life. Then, 2 years ago, everything changed. Captain Rodriguez was flying a normal route from Denver to Dallas. It was a routine flight, nothing special. But somewhere over Kansas, he had a heart attack. The co-pilot managed to land the plane safely. All the passengers were fine. But Captain Rodriguez died before the ambulance reached the hospital. He was only 42 years old. Emma's mother found her in the garage, sitting in the simulator, crying. Daddy didn't finish teaching me, Emma sobbed. There's so much I still don't know. Her mother held her tight. Baby, your father taught you so much. He was so proud of you. But I can't fly a real airplane, Mama. I only know the simulator. That's okay, sweetie. You're only 9 years old. Nobody expects you to fly a real airplane. But Emma couldn't stop. After her father died, she studied even harder. She read airplane manuals. She watched YouTube videos about flying. She practiced in the simulator alone, pretending her father was still sitting next to her. I'm doing it right, Daddy, she would whisper to the empty co-pilot seat. See? I remembered what you taught me. Her mother worried about her obsession. The school counselor said Emma was using airplane study to avoid dealing with her grief. But Emma couldn't stop. It was the only way she still felt close to her father. Now, 2 years later, Emma was 11. She had studied airplanes for 5 years. She had practiced in the simulator hundreds of times. She knew procedures and checklists by heart. But she had never flown a real airplane. She had never felt real turbulence or real fear. She had never been responsible for real people's lives. Until today. Flight 847 had been in the air for about 90 minutes. They were halfway to Miami. The seatbelt sign was off. People were relaxed and comfortable. Emma was looking at airplane photos on her tablet when she heard a strange sound from the cockpit. It was muffled, like someone shouting behind a closed door. She looked up. The flight attendants looked confused too. They were near the front of the plane, talking quietly to each other. Then the captain's voice came over the speakers. But it wasn't the calm, professional voice pilots usually use. It was desperate and terrified. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The word echoed through the cabin. Passengers stopped talking. Stopped moving. Stopped breathing. Mayday. Everyone knows that word. It means help. It means emergency. It means danger. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The captain screamed it again. His voice was full of panic and fear. It was the sound of a trained professional losing control. Then silence. Complete, terrible silence. The cabin froze. A woman gasped. A man said, "Oh my God," quietly. The baby who had been sleeping started crying. The flight attendants rushed to the cockpit door. Emma watched them knock urgently. "Captain? Captain Harris? First Officer Chen?" No answer. They knocked again, harder. "Captain? Please respond." Nothing. One flight attendant, a woman named Lisa, used her phone to call the cockpit. Emma could see her face getting pale. "They're not answering," she told the other attendant. The passengers were getting scared now. People were asking questions. "What's happening? Are the pilots okay? Why did he say Mayday?" Emma felt her heart beating fast. She knew what Mayday followed by silence meant. Her father had taught her. If you ever hear a pilot call Mayday and then go silent, he had said during one of their training sessions, it means something very bad happened very fast. Maybe both pilots got sick. Maybe there was a decompression. Maybe toxic fumes got into the cockpit. But how can both pilots get sick at the same time? Emma had asked. It's very rare, but it can happen. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Food poisoning if they ate the same meal. Sudden loss of cabin pressure. A fire creating toxic smoke. There are scenarios where both pilots can become incapacitated within seconds. What happens then? Then the airplane keeps flying on autopilot. But eventually, it will run out of fuel. Or it will need to descend. Or another emergency will happen. And there will be nobody to help. Emma stood up. The man next to her looked at her. Sit down, honey. The flight attendants will handle it. But Emma knew better. The flight attendants couldn't handle this. Nobody on this plane could handle this. Nobody except her. She walked toward the front of the plane. Her legs felt shaky, but she kept moving. She could see Lisa still trying the intercom, her face pale, her professional composure barely maintained. Sweetie, please return to your seat, Lisa said, trying to smile despite her obvious fear. I can help, Emma said quietly. That's very sweet, but the pilots are just dealing with an emergency. Please sit down. They're not dealing with anything, Emma said, louder now. They're unconscious. That's why they're not responding. Both pilots are unconscious. Lisa stared at her. How do you know that? Because my father was a pilot. Captain Miguel Rodriguez. He taught me about emergencies. When a captain screams Mayday 3 times and then goes silent, it means rapid incapacitation. Both pilots are either unconscious or dead. The passengers nearby heard this. A woman started crying. A man stood up, his face angry. Is this true? Are the pilots really unconscious? Lisa ignored him and knelt down to Emma's level. Honey, what's your name? Emma Rodriguez. Emma, I need you to tell me the truth. Do you really know about airplanes? My father trained me for 5 years. I have over 300 hours on a 737 simulator. I know every system, every procedure, every emergency checklist. I know how to fly this airplane. Lisa's eyes went wide. She looked at the other flight attendant, a young man named Marcus. Get the emergency operations manual. Now. She turned back to Emma. You're 11 years old. You're telling me you know how to fly a commercial airplane? Yes, ma'am. My father taught me everything. I've practiced emergency landings hundreds of times. I know what to do. But you've never flown a real airplane? No, ma'am. Only the simulator. But the simulator was very realistic. My father made sure of that. Lisa had to make a decision. A terrible, impossible decision. She could tell this child to sit down and wait for help. But help from where? They were at 35,000 feet. There was nobody else. Or she could trust an 11-year-old girl who claimed she could fly a Boeing 737. Lisa looked into Emma's eyes. She saw something there. Not fear. Not confusion. She saw calm determination. She saw confidence. "Marcus," she called. "We're opening the cockpit door." Lisa used her emergency code to unlock the cockpit door. It clicked open. The sight inside made her gasp. The captain was slumped forward against his controls. The first officer was leaning to the side, his head against the window. Neither was moving. "Oh God," Lisa whispered. Emma pushed past her and climbed into the captain's seat. It was too big for her. Her feet didn't reach the floor pedals. But she could see all the instruments. She looked at the screens carefully, just like her father taught her. The autopilot was engaged. Good. The airplane was flying itself at 35,000 feet. Heading southeast toward Miami. Speed 485 knots. Everything looked normal on the instruments. But 2 pilots were unconscious, and she was now responsible for 186 lives. "We need to move him," Emma said, pointing to the captain. "I need to sit here properly." Marcus and Lisa carefully pulled the captain out of his seat. They laid him in the aisle and checked his pulse. "He's alive," Marcus said. "Breathing is shallow." The first officer was also alive but completely unresponsive. Emma adjusted the seat forward as far as it would go. She grabbed 2 cushions from the first-class cabin that Lisa brought her. One went behind her back. One went under her bottom. Now she could reach the controls better. Her feet still barely touched the rudder pedals, but she could manage. "What do we do?" Lisa asked, her voice shaking. "First, we call air traffic control," Emma said. Her voice was steady. Her father had taught her to stay calm no matter what. "Panic kills faster than any emergency," he always said. Emma picked up the radio microphone. Her hand was small around it, but her voice was clear. "Miami Center, this is United Flight 847. We have an emergency." A man's voice came back immediately. "Flight 847, Miami Center. Go ahead." "Miami Center, both pilots are unconscious. I am an 11-year-old passenger with flight simulator training. I am currently in control of the aircraft." There was a long pause. Emma imagined the confusion in that air traffic control center. Controllers probably looking at each other in disbelief. "Flight 847, please repeat your last transmission." "Miami Center, both pilots are unconscious from unknown causes. I am Emma Rodriguez, 11 years old. My father was Captain Miguel Rodriguez. He trained me on a 737 simulator for 5 years. I have approximately 300 hours of simulator time. I know systems and procedures. I am currently the only person on this aircraft who can land it safely." Another pause. Then a different voice came on. Older. Calmer. Authoritative. "Emma, this is Miami Center Supervisor Tom Harrison. I'm also a flight instructor. I'm going to help you through this. Can you tell me what the instruments are showing?" Emma scanned the panel. Autopilot engaged. Altitude 35,000 feet. Heading 135 degrees. Speed 485 knots. Both engines showing normal. Fuel showing 8,500 pounds. Outstanding, Emma. You're reading the instruments perfectly. Now, I need you to listen very carefully. Do not touch anything unless I tell you to. The autopilot is doing a good job flying the airplane. Do you understand? Yes, sir. I understand. Don't touch anything. Good. Now, we're going to work together to get you on the ground safely. I'm bringing in additional help. We're going to have some of the best pilots in the country helping you. But Emma, I need to know, have you practiced landing procedures? Yes, sir. Many times. My father made me practice emergency landings until I could do them perfectly. What kind of landings did you practice? Normal landings, single-engine landings, no-flap landings, crosswind landings, and emergency descents. Tom Harrison's voice showed surprise. Your father trained you well. Okay, Emma. Help is coming. But you're doing great so far. Just keep monitoring the instruments and don't touch anything yet. In the cabin behind Emma, Lisa was making an announcement to the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have experienced a medical emergency with both our pilots. Please remain calm. We have someone who is trained and knowledgeable taking control of the aircraft. We are in contact with air traffic control, and we will be landing safely. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. The cabin erupted in questions and panic. What do you mean both pilots? Who's flying the plane? Oh my God, we're going to die. Lisa raised her voice. Everyone, please. We need you to remain calm for the safety of everyone on board. There is someone trained who is handling the situation. Panicking will not help. Please, return to your seats now. Slowly, people sat down. But the fear was visible on every face. Learning to land. Emma sat in the captain's seat, her hands resting lightly on the yoke. She didn't want to accidentally disconnect the autopilot. The radio crackled. Emma, this is Captain Jennifer Walsh from United Airlines. I'm going to help coordinate your landing. Can you hear me clearly? Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. Excellent. Emma, I want you to know that what you're doing is incredibly brave. Your father would be very proud. We're going to work together, step by step. I'm going to talk you through everything. And Emma, you can do this. I believe in you. Those words made Emma's eyes fill with tears. She blinked them away. This was no time to cry. Thank you, ma'am. Now, here's our plan. We're going to bring you back to Miami. The weather is perfect, clear skies, light winds. We're going to give you a long, straight approach to the longest runway. We'll have every emergency vehicle ready. But Emma, the landing is going to be the hardest part. Are you ready for me to explain how we'll do it? Yes, ma'am. I'm ready. For the next 30 minutes, Captain Walsh walked Emma through the plan. They would descend gradually, using the autopilot to do most of the work. Emma would only need to make small adjustments. The autopilot could even fly them almost all the way to the runway. But the autopilot couldn't land. That Emma would have to do herself. When you're about 50 feet above the runway, Captain Walsh explained, you'll need to disconnect the autopilot and take manual control. You'll pull back gently on the yoke to flare. That means raising the nose slightly so the back wheels touch first. Then you'll reduce power and let the plane settle onto the runway. I've done that in the simulator, Emma said. I know you have. But Emma, I need to be honest with you. A real landing is different from a simulator. It will feel different. The airplane will respond differently. You might land hard. That's okay. The airplane is built to handle hard landings. Your job is just to get it on the runway, even if it's rough. I understand. One more thing. After you land, you need to deploy the speed brakes immediately. That's the lever on your right. Pull it back. Then apply brakes by pushing on the tops of the rudder pedals. Can you reach them? Emma pushed her feet down. She could barely touch the pedals. I can reach them, but just barely. That's okay. Push as hard as you can. The brakes are very powerful. You'll feel the airplane slow down. Yes, ma'am. Emma watched through the cockpit window as they flew over cities and highways far below. Somewhere down there, people were living normal lives. They had no idea that a little girl was flying an airplane directly above them. The radio crackled constantly. Different voices giving her information, encouragement, instructions. Emma, this is Miami Tower. We've cleared all other aircraft from your area. You have priority for landing. Emma, this is the United Airlines Operations Center. We're monitoring your progress. You're doing perfectly. Emma, this is emergency services at Miami Airport. We're ready for you. Don't worry about anything except flying the airplane. And then, her father's voice in her memory. Remember, Emma. The airplane wants to fly. Your job isn't to force it. Your job is to guide it. Be gentle with the controls. Trust your training. And most importantly, stay calm. I will, Daddy, she whispered. Okay, Emma, it's time to begin our descent, Captain Walsh said. I'm going to walk you through this very carefully. First, we need to program the autopilot to start taking us down. Do you see the altitude selector on the autopilot panel? Emma looked at the panel above the center of the windscreen. Yes, ma'am. It's currently showing 35,000. Perfect. I want you to reach up and turn that knob counterclockwise. Turn it slowly until it shows 25,000. Emma reached up. The knob was high, and she had to stretch, but she managed to turn it. The numbers clicked down, 34,000. 33,000, she kept turning until it showed 25,000. It's set to 25,000, she confirmed. Excellent. Now push the button next to it that says V/S. That stands for vertical speed. Emma found the button and pushed it. Immediately, she felt the airplane's nose drop slightly. Through the window, she could see the horizon line move up. They were descending. Good, Emma. Look at your vertical speed indicator. What does it show? Emma looked at the display. It shows -1,500 feet per minute. Perfect. That's a nice, gentle descent. Your passengers won't even feel it much. Now we're just going to monitor our progress as we come down. The descent was smooth and steady. Emma watched the altitude decrease, 34,000. 33,500, 33,000. Emma, you're doing wonderfully, Captain Walsh said. While we descend, I want you to start thinking about the landing. Remember what we talked about. When you're close to the ground, you'll need to pull back gently on the yoke. Have you been holding the yoke? Yes, ma'am. I have my hands on it lightly. Good. That's exactly right. You want to be familiar with how it feels. Now, I want you to practice something. Very gently, pull back just a tiny bit. Feel how the airplane responds. Emma pulled back slightly on the yoke. She felt the airplane's nose rise a little. The descent slowed. Okay, now push forward gently, back to neutral. Emma pushed forward. The nose lowered again. Excellent. You have good control. You're being gentle and smooth. That's exactly what we need. At 25,000 feet, Captain Walsh had Emma set the autopilot to descend to 15,000 feet. Then to 10,000. Then to 5,000. With each step down, Emma could see the ground getting closer. She could see individual buildings now. Cars on highways. Ships in the ocean. And ahead, she could see Miami Airport. Emma, you're about 40 miles from the airport, Miami Tower said. We're going to turn you on to the final approach course. When I tell you, reach up to the heading selector, that's the knob that shows your direction, and turn it to 090. Ready, Emma said. Okay, turn to heading 090. Emma turned the knob. The airplane began a gentle turn to the left. Through the window, she saw the city of Miami sliding across her view. Then she saw it, the airport, with its long runways clearly visible. I can see the airport, she said. That's wonderful, Emma. You see that long runway pointing straight at you? That's runway 09. That's your landing runway. We're going to fly you straight to it. The airplane was now lined up perfectly. The runway was dead ahead, getting closer and closer. Emma was at 5,000 feet. Still descending at 1,500 feet per minute. Emma, at 3,000 feet, we need to reduce your descent rate, Captain Walsh said. When you reach 3,000 feet, I want you to adjust the vertical speed to -700 feet per minute. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Emma watched the altitude, 4,500. 4,000, 3,500. 3,000. She adjusted the vertical speed dial. The descent slowed. The airplane felt more level. Perfect. Captain Walsh said. Now, we're going to do something important. We need to extend your landing gear. Emma, find the landing gear lever. It's near your right knee, a big lever with a wheel shape on it. Emma looked down. She saw the lever. It was currently in the up position. I see it. When you're ready, pull it down to the down position. You'll hear a loud noise, that's normal. It's the wheels coming down. Emma grabbed the lever. It was stiff, and she had to use both hands to pull it down. There was a loud rumbling, grinding sound. The airplane shook slightly. That's normal, Emma. You're doing great. Emma saw 3 green lights illuminate on the panel. I see 3 green lights. Perfect. That means all 3 landing gears are down and locked. You're ready to land. The runway was getting bigger in the windscreen. Emma could see the white stripes painted on it. She could see the emergency vehicles lined up on both sides, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, all with their lights flashing. Emma, you're at 2,000 feet, Miami Tower said. Speed is good. Approach is perfect. You're doing better than some professional pilots I've seen. But Emma's heart was pounding. This was it. This was the moment her father had trained her for. In a few minutes, she would either save everyone on this airplane, or... She pushed that thought away. Emma, Captain Walsh said, her voice gentle. I can hear your breathing on the radio. Are you scared? Yes, ma'am, Emma admitted. That's okay. Being scared and doing it anyway, that's what courage is. And Emma, you are one of the bravest people I've ever met. Your father trained you for this. You know what to do. Trust yourself. Emma took a deep breath. Yes, ma'am. I trust my training. Emma, you're at 1,000 feet, Captain Walsh said. This is going well. In about a minute, at 500 feet, you're going to disconnect the autopilot and take manual control. Are you ready? Ready, Emma said. Her hands tightened on the yoke. Remember, small corrections. Don't overcorrect. The airplane wants to fly. You're just guiding it. 900 feet. Emma could see cars parked at the airport. She could see people standing and watching. 800 feet. The runway filled her entire windscreen now. White stripes on gray concrete. Her target. 700 feet. Okay, Emma, reduce your power slightly. Pull the throttle levers back just a little. Emma's right hand found the throttle levers. She pulled them back slightly. The engine noise decreased. 600 feet. When I say, disconnect, press the red button on your yoke, Captain Walsh said. 500 feet. Disconnect the autopilot now. Emma pressed the red button. Immediately, she felt the difference. The airplane was in her hands now. It wasn't flying itself anymore. Every small movement she made affected it. You're doing great, Emma. Keep the wings level. Keep the nose pointed at the runway. 400 feet. The airplane drifted slightly left. Emma turned the yoke right, just a little. The airplane came back to center. 300 feet. Start reducing power more, Captain Walsh said. Pull the throttles back slowly. Emma pulled the throttles back. The engines got quieter. 200 feet. She could see individual people now. She could see their faces looking up at her. 100 feet. Emma, start your flare. Pull back gently on the yoke. Raise the nose. Not too much, just a little. Emma pulled back. The nose rose. Through the windscreen, she saw less runway and more sky. 50 feet. Keep pulling back, slowly, slowly. The ground was rushing up at her. Emma pulled back more on the yoke. 30 feet. Almost there, Emma. Just a little more back pressure. 20 feet. Emma could see the rubber marks on the runway where thousands of other airplanes had landed. 10 feet. Perfect, Emma. Hold it there. The back wheels touched the runway first. Thump. It was hard. Harder than it should have been. The airplane bounced slightly. Emma pushed forward on the yoke, forcing the nose down. The front wheel hit. Bang. They were on the ground. Speed brakes. Captain Walsh shouted. Deploy the speed brakes now. Emma grabbed the lever on her right and pulled it back. She heard a whooshing sound as panels on the wings deployed. Now brakes. Push on the top of the rudder pedals. Emma pushed her feet down as hard as she could. She was too small, too light, but she pushed with all her strength. The airplane was slowing down. 120 knots. 100 knots. 80 knots. You're doing it, Emma. Keep braking. 60 knots. 40 knots. 20 knots. The airplane slowed to a walking pace. Then stopped. They were on the runway. They were stopped. They were safe. Flight 847, you are stopped safely on runway 09, Miami Tower said. Emergency vehicles are approaching your position. Emma, you did it. You saved everyone. Emma sat in the captain's seat, her hands shaking violently. She tried to release the yoke, but her fingers wouldn't uncurl. Karen reached over gently, carefully prying Emma's small fingers free from the controls. You did it. Lisa whispered, her voice breaking. Oh my God, Emma, you actually did it. The radio frequency erupted with voices, controllers, pilots, emergency coordinators, all talking at once in a mixture of professional debriefing and raw emotional reaction to what they just witnessed. Captain Walsh's voice cut through. Emma Rodriguez, this is Captain Walsh. What you just accomplished is going to be studied and talked about for decades. You saved every single person on that aircraft. Your father would be incredibly proud. Within seconds, the airplane was surrounded by emergency vehicles. Fire trucks on both sides. Ambulances rushing to the doors. Police cars blocking the runway. Paramedics boarded immediately and rushed to the cockpit. They checked the two unconscious pilots. We need to get them to the hospital immediately, one paramedic said. While they worked on the pilots, passengers were evacuated using the stairs that were rolled up to the doors. As they left the airplane, every single passenger stopped to look into the cockpit. They saw a small 11-year-old girl sitting in the captain's seat, still strapped in, still holding the yoke. Many of them were crying. Some reached out to touch her shoulder as they passed. Thank you, they whispered. You saved us. God bless you, little girl. The man who had been sitting next to Emma in seat 12B stopped in the cockpit doorway. He was crying openly. I thought you were just a kid, he said. I told you to sit down. I'm so sorry. You saved my life. Emma could only nod. She still couldn't speak. Lisa, the flight attendant, knelt beside the captain's seat. Emma, honey, we need to get you out of here. Can you unbuckle? Emma's hands fumbled with the seatbelt. Lisa helped her unbuckle. Emma tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't support her. All the adrenaline that had sustained her through the landing was draining away. Lisa picked her up like a small child and carried her out of the cockpit. The cabin was empty now except for emergency personnel. As Lisa carried Emma down the aisle toward the exit, Emma looked at seat 12A where she had been sitting. Her tablet was still there, showing the airplane photos she had been looking at. At the airplane door, cameras flashed. News crews had already arrived. Someone was shouting questions. But Emma didn't hear any of it. An ambulance was waiting. Paramedics wanted to check her. I'm okay, Emma said quietly. Check the pilots. I'm okay. We need to check you too, sweetie, a kind female paramedic said. You've just been through something very stressful. They took her to the ambulance. Put a blood pressure cuff on her arm. Checked her pulse. Asked her questions. Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel pain anywhere? Can you tell me your name? Emma Rodriguez. I'm 11. I'm okay. Are the pilots okay? They're being taken care of. Don't worry about them. You need to focus on yourself. But Emma couldn't focus on herself. She kept thinking about everything that had happened. Had she done it right? Had she made mistakes? Was everyone really safe? Then she heard a voice shouting. Emma! Emma! Her mother came running across the tarmac, her face streaked with tears. Security guards tried to stop her, but she pushed past them. That's my daughter. That's my baby. The guards let her through. Emma's mother reached the ambulance and pulled Emma into her arms, holding her so tight Emma could barely breathe. Oh my baby, oh my God, Emma, are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm okay, Mama. I'm okay. Her mother pulled back to look at her, checking her face, her arms, making sure she was really all right. They called me, her mother sobbed. The airline called me. They said there was an emergency. They said you were flying the airplane. I thought. She couldn't finish. She just held Emma and cried. I remembered what Daddy taught me, Emma said softly. Everything he taught me. I did what he said to do. Her mother nodded against her shoulder, unable to speak around the lump in her throat. Her father had known. Not this exact situation, not this specific emergency, but he'd understood that knowledge could save lives, that preparation mattered, that teaching his daughter to fly wasn't about creating a pilot, but about giving her capabilities that might someday mean the difference between survival and tragedy. That night, the story exploded across every media platform in the world. News channels showed footage of the landing, rough and imperfect, but successful. The aircraft touching down with visible force before rolling to a stop. Reporters camped outside their hotel. The airline issued statements praising Emma's courage while carefully navigating the liability questions of how an 11-year-old had ended up flying their aircraft. The passengers from Flight 847 organized a gathering. They wanted to thank Emma properly. 186 people came, every passenger and crew member from that flight. They met in a hotel ballroom in Miami. When Emma walked in with her mother, everyone stood up. And they applauded. They applauded for 5 full minutes, many of them crying, all of them grateful to be alive. One by one, passengers came up to hug her and thank her. The grandmother who had been visiting her new grandchild, because of you, I got to hold my grandson. Thank you. The businessman who had told her to sit down, you're braver than any adult I've ever met. I'm sorry I doubted you. A young woman who had been terrified, I have a daughter your age. I hope she grows up to be as brave as you. Captain Walsh, who had talked Emma through the landing, came to the gathering. She brought Emma a gift, a pilot's wings pin, the kind professional pilots wear on their uniforms. This belonged to your father, Captain Walsh said. The airline saved it for you. He would want you to have it. Emma took the pin with trembling hands. It was gold, with United Airlines engraved on it. Her father had worn this. Thank you, Emma whispered. No, Emma. Thank you. You proved that your father was an extraordinary teacher. And you proved that courage has no age limit. Emma returned to school, but everything was different now. She was famous. Other kids asked for her autograph. Teachers treated her differently. News reporters still called her mother asking for interviews. The airline offered to pay for her college education. Multiple aviation schools said they would train her to be a professional pilot when she was old enough. She received thousands of letters from around the world. Her mother took her to a therapist who helped her understand that it was okay to have saved lives and still feel traumatized, that courage and fear weren't opposites, but companions. But she still went to the garage simulator every Saturday morning. She would sit in the pilot's seat, just like she used to with her father. I did it, Daddy, she would say to the empty co-pilot seat. I used everything you taught me. And it worked. One Saturday, her mother came into the garage and found Emma crying in the simulator. What's wrong, baby? I miss him so much, Mama. I miss Daddy so much. I want to tell him about the landing. I want him to tell me I did it right. Her mother climbed into the co-pilot seat, something she had never done before. Tell me about it. Tell me everything that happened. I'll listen the way he would have. So Emma did. She explained every step of the landing. Every decision she made. Every moment of fear and doubt. Her mother listened quietly. When Emma finished, she said, he knew, Emma. Somehow, your father knew that someday, someone would need what he taught you. Maybe not you specifically. Maybe just someone, somewhere. But he made sure you were ready. And because of him, 186 people went home to their families. Do you think he's proud of me? Baby, he was always proud of you. Every single day. And yes, wherever he is, he's bursting with pride right now. On the one-year anniversary of the emergency landing, Emma was invited to speak at an aviation safety conference. She stood on a stage in front of hundreds of professional pilots, air traffic controllers, and aviation safety experts. She was 12 years old now, a little taller, a little more confident. My father used to tell me that knowledge is never wasted, Emma said into the microphone. He taught me to fly, not because he expected me to ever need it, but because he believed in teaching. He believed that if you learn something deeply and truly, it becomes part of you forever. The audience listened in complete silence. When those pilots got sick, I was terrified. I was just a kid. I still am just a kid. But I had knowledge that nobody else on that airplane had. And because my father had taught me, I was able to help. She paused, gathering her courage for what she wanted to say next. Some people have asked if my father was wrong to teach me these things. They say I was too young. They say it was too much responsibility for a child. But I don't think he was wrong. I think he gave me the greatest gift a parent can give, the ability to help others. To save lives. To make a difference. There were tears in many eyes now. I miss my father every single day. But he's still teaching me. Every time I sit in that simulator, I hear his voice. Stay calm. Trust your training. The airplane wants to fly. And because of those lessons, 186 people are still alive today. Emma is 14 now. She still has the flight simulator in her garage. She still practices every Saturday. Her mother remarried, to Tom Harrison, the air traffic controller who had helped talk Emma through the landing. They had stayed in contact, and over time, friendship had turned into love. And Tom brought his son, Marcus, age 10, into Emma's life. On Saturday mornings now, Emma teaches Marcus about flying. She shows him the instruments. Explains how the wings work. Walks him through emergency procedures. "Why are you teaching me all this?" Marcus asked one day. Emma smiled. It was the same question she had asked her father years ago. "Because knowledge is never wasted," she said, repeating her father's words. "Maybe you'll be a pilot someday. Maybe you'll just understand how flying works. Or maybe, someday, someone will need your help. And if they do, you'll be ready." Marcus looked at her seriously. "Like you were ready?" "Like I was ready." In the garage, the simulator sits waiting. The same simulator where a father taught his daughter to fly. The same simulator where a daughter prepared for an emergency she never expected to face. And now, a new generation learns. The cycle continues. Because knowledge is never wasted. Because preparation saves lives. And because love, expressed through teaching, never dies. Emma Rodriguez still lives in Chicago. She is now 16 years old and taking actual flying lessons at a local aviation school. She plans to become a commercial airline pilot when she turns 18. All 186 passengers are alive and well. Many of them stay in contact with Emma. They call themselves Emma's Miracles. Captain Harris and First Officer Chen both returned to flying after their recovery. They now teach emergency procedures at United Airlines Training Center. And in a garage in Chicago, a flight simulator waits for the next Saturday morning lesson. Because some lessons are too important to ever stop teaching.